Wow, time flies, doesn't it? It seems like it was just yesterday that I was roaming through the demon's castle to rescue a pair of captured princesses in Prison Princess, released in 2020. Since then, developer Chiarte has been a constant in my life for serving mid-level fan service adventures, and now, 4 years after its predecessor, the hero is back. Out of his body, that is, and must once again save the princesses from captivity in Prison Princess Trapped Allure. Prison Princess Trapped Allure opens with the hero remembering the events that took place right after the conclusion of the first game. Still, with the inclusion of several new characters and a new lead named Juliet, I would say this game can be enjoyed without ever having to play the first entry. Trapped Allure manages to do a better job of handling the characters, but there's just not enough here to actually care about any of them. Trust me, after an hour or two, you'll likely be quickly skipping through the narrative bits with the goal of simply completing the game to see what's at the end of it all. That said, if you do stick around and actually read it, you'll learn more about the hero and his companions as they each fall into some classic fantasy trope. While Arya and Zeta are back and they join the search party, other members of the group have been captured by the Demon King, and you'll need to save each of them as you make your way through the castle. This does add a few additional story bits, but sadly the conversations with each of these girls becomes a repeating line after a few interactions. There's just not enough depth in these characters, but at least they're all well illustrated and show the developer knows their audience. To get through the castle, you need to scan each room to look for clues, puzzles, and items that can help you progress. There's a special limited ability that allows you to see things on a screen that you can interact with, but it isn't helpful at all and only highlights objects in red on the current screen you're on. The weird thing is that there's a very long timer for this ability, but you can't actually scan the entire room, so why even have the timer? Anyway, the puzzles from the beginning to end are exceptionally straightforward, and you'll rarely, if ever, get stumped on figuring out a solution. The only difficulty comes from trying to guess what order some events need to go in or where to place a specific item. For instance, I was stuck for about 20 minutes trying to figure out how to use this hose to shrink a mage girl. I thought I tried about everything, but was forced to ask for help from someone else playing. Well, it turns out I just had to click on her mouth, but why not just click the hose? Why not tell me a line, maybe we should try sticking this in her mouth? This game has so many annoying elements that all stem from simply withholding information from the player, if only to pad its runtime. Thankfully, getting lost isn't so bad, since you can find hidden skits throughout the castle and increase your affinity with the girls. Still, those skits won't alleviate the frustration of things like knowing that the wreath in the attic was never used for anything throughout the entire game until a very specific puzzle is triggered. But before then, interacting with it did nothing. It's just strange things like that turn a relatively simple puzzle game into a pixel hunt quest where you're continually traveling throughout the castle, re-investigating every scene every time you hit a roadblock. There are some systems in place to make things easier, such as being able to hotkey a memo that holds a tip for a puzzle. I recommend that instead of allowing the player to equip a memo, the developer should have had the memo tied to the puzzle automatically show up in the bottom left corner. If you don't have the memo, it should say something like "memo is missing," which tells the players there's a hint for that particular puzzle somewhere. Further, you can quickly move throughout the castle through a fast travel system, and you can also turn on an option that removes some of the more adult content in the game to be less revealing. So, why play Prison Princess Trapped Allure? Well, the game is quite enjoyable if you're trying to hang out with some anime girls for an afternoon of brain teasers. There are some clever elements here and there, but it doesn't do any more than it needs to. You can see where the quality has been cut as some puzzle designs come off as pretty lazy, while others have strange trial and error setups that halt progression. I know this is meant to be an escape room type game, but the puzzles are way too easy to recommend to hardcore fans of escape rooms. But at least the illustrations and interactive scenes are what you're likely here for, and in that case, the game is a quality purchase. I would love to say that I played Prison Princess Trapped Allure to be ironic, but in all honesty, I kind of enjoy these silly games. There's no real pressure to do anything, and the reward awaiting players in each room, highlighting a new fantasy girl and puzzle, is an enjoyable game loop that held my interest. However, the needless ambiguous puzzle design that are simple yet required overly specific actions don't do the experience any favors. Further, the story doesn't land even if the additional cast is here to round out the party. What this is a baka game for the bakas, and I just happen to be one of them. Noisy Pixel is giving Prison Princess Trapped Allure a 6 out of 10. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth, and subscribe to keep up with all our feature content.
Noisy Pixel.